Good afternoon. I'm Michael Wright, the Managing Director here at the Trust, and I'm covering for Richard today, who is on annual leave this week. So apologies from Richard, but welcome. In the usual way, we've got a number of slides with one or two guest speakers today, and then we'll take questions at the end. I've a number of questions that have been put to us already, and we've got answers prepared for those. And if there are any more, please put them in the chat. I'm happy to talk through at the end. Okay, in terms of our performance review, we have our key metrics there that we're working to. So firstly, the 4-hour urgent emergency care standard. The performance for the month of May was 63.9 against a target of 70. We've seen a lot of progression in this with quite a significant number of patients waiting longer waits in UECC over the last 12 months. But hitting our trajectory still does remain a challenge. We are taking a lot of action to improve that. What I would say in terms of the type 1 levels, we are really in the upper quartile for the type 1 performance. So we'll keep focusing on that. The 6-week diagnostic waiting time standard, we perform really well. We're performing better than the targets, and I think recently we were the best in the country for that target. So that's quite a key area of focus. The performance for the faster diagnosis standard at 80.3% is above the target, so that's really positive. Referral to treatment, although we're not anywhere near in the bottom quartile, we're performing relatively well against our peers. We're still miles off the target at 60.4% against a target at 92%. So we're also doing a lot of work around elective recovery to get back into that position where we're closer to that target. But it's not going to be overnight. It's quite a significant target to achieve. Then in terms of financially, we're just off our income expenditure plan as of May. So you can see there a target deficit of 1.578 mil, and we're coming in at 2.198 million. Clearly, CIP is going to be a big part of that. But we do have additional beds open as well in terms of additional capacity, which does cause cost pressure. So the election results, as you know, Labour was successful, and we have a new Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, and that is Wes Streeting. It was in the photograph there. So the pre-election period has ended, and this means the comms team will be able to do a lot more proactive media relations and publicity. So please do reach out and make contact with the comms team. And I think it will be interesting to see the work that Wes and colleagues are going to do over the coming months and the impact on the NHS. It's clear that elective recovery will form a big part of the work going forwards. So industrial action and operational pressures. So doctors in training held industrial action from 7 a.m. on the 27th of June to 7 a.m. on the 2nd of July. So thanks to everybody who was involved in that. It's always a challenging time when you have some key colleagues away from the organisation, but I think we managed it really well, and many colleagues played a part in that. So thank you. As always, it's essential we identify discharges early so we can maintain flow and reduce the pressure in UECC. And we're saying this on the back of real high attendances recently. I think there was a day recently where we had 360 patients through UECC, and that's 4 more patients coming through than the building was designed for. So challenging all round. Next slide, please. So perfect week, you may have heard this term before, and we've run it previously, and it really, once it's got traction, we really see some benefits from it. I'm hoping my colleague Jodie's here, our Director of Operations, just to talk about this in a little bit more detail, please.
Thanks, Michael. So yeah, we're going to run a perfect week from next Thursday at 9 o'clock in the morning until the following Wednesday at lunchtime. This is just to try and help us reset a little bit. So as Michael's already mentioned, we've had record attendances through our UECC and high admissions, and we've been in a lot of escalation capacity all of winter, and now we're into July. So some of the aims of the week, that we've got a trust and a system-wide focus of ensuring patients are in the right place for the care that they need. Enable us support services to respond to some of our clinical departments and really focus as an organisation and a place to really support discharge. So reset the system a little bit. We're in this process of escalation beds all the time. It'll allow us to try and de-escalate those and kind of reset ourselves to go through the summer and then head back into winter. We're aiming to improve the flow through the organisation and out into the community. A key thing for us is freeing up the capacity earlier in the day, so the use of the discharge lounge and patients to be discharged before 5 o'clock in the evening, free up that capacity in the trust so that we can have some flow all day rather than later into the night. Increase our use of the community ready unit. It's already really well used, and we've seen really good uptake of the community ready unit over the last 6 months since some of the rapid improvement work was done. But one of the aims of the week is to see if we can push that a little bit further. As part of the week, really look at what the delays are for some of our patients in their pathway, so whether that's internal or external. So we'll have a team of people, both internal and external, available to look at what we can do differently, how we might unblock some of the challenges that are in patients' pathways. Because of the pressures that we've been seeing, we have had some elective care step down over the last few weeks. So part of the week is to create that capacity to make sure our elective care doesn't get stepped down, so we can start our theatre sessions on time and finish on time. And then there's also a bit of work to do around bed reconfiguration in Care Group 1, which we need the de-escalation of beds to do in order to be able to reconfigure some of the beds that are in Care Group 1. So hopefully this week will allow us to de-escalate a little bit and get those beds in the right place for our patients. So some of the really specific things that we're going to do next week. So non-clinical departments, if you can identify members of your team that can support ward liaison officer role, so help with collecting data, help with messages, runners to collect things for the ward area so that the clinical staff can really focus on what they're doing in their ward areas. Morning and afternoon board rounds will take place on inpatient areas so that we can really look at what's in a patient pathway and what we might need to do differently. Daily feedback session to exec leads across the system. So if we're real challenged with the local authority or with the voluntary sector, we can really feedback real time some of the issues and have everybody's focus on unblocking them. As I've already said, we'll have a multi-agency senior team on site, so we've got our direct point of contact for unblocking any challenges. And it's just about us all focusing on one thing for that week so that we can really ensure we've got the patients in the right place at the right time, receiving the care that they need. And as part of the week, we'll make sure that we are following the acute care standards, which we launched a few months ago.
Thanks very much, Jodie. So we're just going to talk now about our strategy next. Thank you. So our strategy we launched in 2022, and it's our new journey together, as you can see there. It was a 5-year strategy, and we launched that and developed it at a time where we were still pretty much in COVID. The numbers were still relatively high. We had a number of challenges across the organisation around our mortality rates, for example, and we set our ambition at that point in time. But more recently, we've had a new chairman arrive, Dr. Mike Richmond, and we've seen quite a few achievements that we've delivered on. So firstly, we wanted to reflect on those achievements, and then secondly, recast our ambition, because we feel over the next 2.5 to 3 years, we need to keep pushing. And there are a number of things that we think we can achieve if we work collectively. So just to call out a few of our achievements, the next slide, and this is just restricted to a few, not all, but we've really implemented a patient experience improvement plan focusing on waiting times, discharge, nutrition and hydration and pain management, and we're seeing some clear benefits from that. We're going to touch on shortly the opening of the Community Diagnostic Centre, the CDC, in breathing space, and the more recent movement down there actually in relation to the CT scanner. But the Community Diagnostic Centre is making a big difference. Quality improvement has been something that the Trust has not had such a major focus on until the last few years, and we've embedded quality improvement within the Trust, and staff and colleagues are empowered to deliver local improvements. So I'm going to hear from Becky Valance on that in a little bit more detail. And he says here we've reduced our turnover rate by 20%. So what that actually means is it's a 20% improvement. So we were running at a turnover rate of 11%, and we're now down to broadly 9%, which is really good and positive. And we're managing to attract people to come and work with us. The staff survey, I think, is helping in that. And I think in certain, across the nursing workforce, the turnover rate has really improved significantly. So also partnership. So we've got Richard as our chief exec and also the chief exec of Barnsley, and we've forged a really strong partnership with Barnsley, and we're enhancing our services, particularly across gastro and haematology. Haematology being the second of the services that we're working on. In terms of our staff survey, we're the second most improved trust in England. For the question recommended the trust to the place to work within the staff survey. Our strategy is not going to talk too much about quartiles, but for those that like to talk about quartiles, in 4 years, we've gone from the bottom quartile overall in terms of our overall scores to the upper quartile. And that's been an incredible journey. I touched on mortality earlier. Our HSMR, that's hospital standardized mortality ratio, statistics were poor and we were an outlier, and we've improved those significantly to better than expected. The other indicators, SHME rather, which I think we're within the expected range, and I think that's a standardized hospital mortality index, I think that stands for. And then we've also worked closely with partners at Doncaster and Barnsley to open the Mexborough Elective Orthopaedic Centre at the Montague Hospital, and we're currently working with colleagues across Barnsley and Rotherham to fully utilise those lists, and it's already making a difference to our patients. So next slide is just touching on our ambitions. So we want to stretch ourselves. So there's a few areas that we really need to focus on. Number one priority is provide high quality care and great experience to our patients. A key part of delivering this is having timely access to our services through effective operational delivery of our services. And obviously we can't do this without our colleagues, our people. We need to have the right culture. Which I think someone maybe got off mute there. It's gone off mute, back on. We cannot deliver this without our people. So we are really looking to support and continue working together to improve the delivery of our standards. We want to be financially sustainable so we can actually invest into the future. And then we set our ambitions against these 4 pillars. So on the next slide, we've got a table, and I'm going to call them out, the ambitions. So firstly, provide the quality of care and patient experience that is consistent with CQC outstanding across the whole organisation. And this is the ambition for the next 2.5 years. In terms of the CQC, as you know, we requires improvement and have been. We see significant improvements across the quality of care, and that's backed up by a number of metrics. I guess we would welcome the CQC to come in at this point and review our services. It's unlikely that they'll come because we're not deemed to be a risk, and there are hardly any issues being escalated for discussion with the CQC, and the relationship with the CQC has gone from strength to strength over the past few years. In terms of people and culture, it's been the best place to work in the country, as evidenced by the NHS staff survey results, and I've already indicated how positive the movement's been there. In terms of operational delivery, deliver our core operational standards. That's the 4 hours, the RTT and the cancer access we've called out there. We saw earlier the RTT with somewhere to go to get to the 92%, but we are starting to make inroads on that. And historically, Rotherham's been strong on RTT performance. And then finally, deliver a recurrent break-even position, providing the financial flexibility to invest and improve our services. So if we're not breaking even and we're in deficit, we're not going to have the cash. We're not going to have the cash, therefore, to reinvest. So it's important that we do deliver on that, that we maximise the activity that we're delivering, and also we all focus collectively on our cost improvement programme. We've done the cost improvement programmes every year. I know it gets difficult, but there's still some way to go, I believe. And temporary staffing, we're still spending, it probably will be 6-7 million, or heading that direction towards the end of the year just on agency. So if we could reduce that dramatically, there'd be a saving on the premium, even if we recruited and backfilled these posts, which is going to make a big difference. Next slide, please. So we said we did. So we've launched our We Said We Did plan for 24-25, and the number of areas of improvement that have been identified from staff survey results and other feedback as well. So there's 5 specific areas that we've identified, and exec director colleagues will be leading on an area of their own. So firstly, appraisals. Daniel's going to be working on appraisals, our director of people. Car parking, comes up, and we'll touch on that later in terms of questions. It comes up regularly. So Linda, our interim director of estates and facilities, is leading on that. Reasonable adjustments. Steve, our director of finance, is picking that one up. Sexual safety is Helen, our chief nurse. And finally, violence and aggression, I've been picking up for some time and will continue to do so. We run an anti-violence and aggression group. We've had a number of convictions with support from South Yorkshire Police, but sadly our colleagues still get assaulted, particularly down in UEZC and in other areas as well. We've invested in lightweight body-worn cameras, and that's helping us get the footage to support the convictions. So we will keep the pressure on there, but we're grateful to South Yorkshire Police for the support that they're showing us. So further details on what is planned to improve these areas this year are available in the plan on the hub. And next slide, please. So the quarterly pulse survey gives us an idea of how we're feeling. It closes on the 31st of July. It's a number of questions which will be asked about how you're feeling at work and your impact at work and freedom to speak up. I've done it recently, and it takes just a few minutes to do. So please do that. Make some time to do it if you can. And we've got the www.nhspeoplepulse.com reference there if you want to click onto that. Thank you. So rooftop changing rooms. I think Cindy would like to say something about this.
Michael. So yeah, we're really proud of being able to have this facility for you, and it has been really popular for you. So just done a bit of an audit about, have we still got enough lockers? Are they in good repair? What are the benches like? And realised a few lockers had got broken, and actually in some of the changing rooms, all the lockers were completely in use. So we've been supported by the charity. We put another bid into this, and another 80 units. And the company are going to come back and make good all the lockers that are broken. So there is a master key. So if you lose your key, please don't break it. I want to keep these in good order for colleagues to be able to use. So you can contact estates who can open your locker with the master key, and then some additional benching as well. So just bear with us while we're getting them all numbered. But you know, we just want to continue to listen to what you're saying and try and make life a bit easier for people who need to get changed at work.
Thanks, Cindy. That's really helpful. Thank you. So upcoming IT projects N365, we do have James on if you have any specific questions at the end. But over the coming months, we'll be working through a project to move from our own Office Teams environment to the National NHS Net environment known as N365. This work will not only see significant savings made, but will also improve how we access Microsoft systems, put us on the platform as a large number of other trusts, making collaboration easier, enable multiple users to collaborate on documents at the same time. And once this project is completed, you'll no longer need to use your Gen login for Teams and Office systems. Instead, you use your NHS login. So we think it's going to be really positive. If you have any questions on that, listen, we've got James. We'll bring James in at the end. Next slide, please. So here we have Darren Howlett, our new General Manager for Care Group 2, and we really welcome Darren joining us here at the Trust. Darren's got a wealth of experience, 30 years experience in the NHS actually, around an operational background working in finance and QI. So multiple strengths there. We really welcome Darren to the Trust. And I think previously Darren's managed surgery for 6 years and 5 years in medicine. So probably many of you will have seen Darren already because he's been to numerous meetings and he's constantly walking across the Trust. But if you do see Darren in the corridor, please stop and say hello. Thank you. Next slide. So I touched on the CDC, Clinical Diagnostic Centre, that we've got down at Breathing Space. And yesterday I went down with our chair, Mike, and we met other colleagues, as you can see in the picture, and Rachel Bell was there, our professional lead. I think I've got Rachel on the call. Rachel, is there anything you'd like to say specifically, please, about the CT scanner?
Thank you, Michael. So yesterday we had a bit of an open day and invited colleagues around to see the new facility. The new facility has been transferred from the Moorgate wing on Trust site down to Baddesley Moor Lane at the side of Breathing Space. And this is part of the CDC plan, so it's a second phase. We've already got our respiratory physiology team down there. And at the side of the CT scanner that was at Moorgate wing, there's now a support unit for staff. So we've got a reception area, we've got a toilet and a cannulation area. area. So this is going to provide a really nice environment for staff to work, for patients to visit. It will be quick. We've got car parking spaces outside, so patients will be able to just pull up, go in, have the scan, and then come back out again without them having to come onto the acute setting. So part of the CDC national plan is to separate acute and elective work, and we're doing our bit with this CDC. So I'm hoping this is going to be a great success. From a staff point of view, the environment's lovely. It's a really nice new staff area, and I'm hoping that actually that's going to aid to their well-being. So thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Rachel. And when I came down there yesterday, it's so impressive. It's going to be excellent for patients, and just the quality of the facility is first class, isn't it? It really is.
Yes.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So the decaf QI pilot, I think this has actually picked up some recognition from the media. So we're running a quality improvement pilot on B5 in short stay, which aims to reduce patient falls and enhance bladder health. And other benefits of switching to decaffeinated tea and coffee include improved sleep, reduced noticeable irregular heartbeats, helps prevent dehydration and headaches, reduced indigestion, and reduces risk of a condition that weakens bones, osteoporosis, as caffeine prevents absorption of calcium. And caffeinated drinks remain available to those who would like them, but I think we've seen some real positives from that, real positive emerging results, and clearly that's from QI, and we're going to hear about QI very shortly. Next slide, please. So Becky, could I invite you in, please, to talk to us about QI? Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. So I'm just going to talk about the change in the improvement training. As you know, we used to use CUSA as a methodology and a structure for our training, and we've worked collaboratively with colleagues across South Yorkshire to develop Improvement Learning South Yorkshire, or ILSI, and this is the roadmap that it follows, which for colleagues who have worked in Barnsley previously will perhaps recognise most of the steps in this, and then we've added to it. Next slide, please. Thank you. So using the structure of the roadmap, I've just worked through what the problem was, and that CUSA had changed its offer. They've decided that they're now going to charge for anybody who facilitates the training, and it would equate to around £10,000 a year for our trust, which obviously is not sustainable over time. And also, although the training materials were good, they'd not been updated for around 15 years, and it was mostly technical, so lots of tools that were given to people, very small human element, 80% technical, 20% human, whereas really QI should be 80% human and 20% technical, so focusing on the people who are involved in making improvements and changes. We needed to build capacity and capability across the organisation as we're embarking out quite early in this journey, and it was an opportunity to collaborate across the ICB. So the aim of this was to redesign our QI practitioner training. It had previously been 5 days under CUSA, and we wanted to do it over 3. There was provision now for staff to attend training in any of the participating organisations that I'll come on to. They'll receive exactly the same training using the same improvement language, and there'll be the opportunity for cross-organisational learning because we'll have lots of colleagues from across the system attending the same training in one organisation. The development of the programme has been led by ourselves and Barnsley, and it complies with the new NHS Impact that was launched last year. So in the people circle, we designed the new programme with Barnsley, Ardash, Sheffield Children's Hospital, Sheffield Health and Social Care and South Yorkshire ICB. It's linked to YAS because obviously they cover lots of different systems, not just South Yorkshire, but wanted to be involved and updated with this. We've got our own internal faculty of around 10 people who help to deliver the training at different days, and it's available to all staff, and all our preceptees have improvement training. They have up to 1.5 days over the programme of improvement training as well that follows this structure. So we wanted to understand actually how well the training was received in its previous form. So we got feedback from attendees and faculty who felt that 5 days was too long to take out of the working environment. The days were not very full. They often finished around kind of 3 o'clock, and it was very tools heavy, but people still didn't really know where to start on the programme. It was based around the model for improvement, which is something that we've continued. Next slide, please. So the change ideas that we've put in place, we've run our first cohort of a 3-day ILSI practitioner programme, and those colleagues now will come back 3 months post theory to share where they're at with their piece of work that they're doing as part of that course. We don't expect them to have finished it, but we want an update of where they're at, what tools they've used, what progress they've made, and who they've involved. We also still offer the 1-day course, which is now called ILSI Foundations, and both those are available to book on ESR within Rotherham, and we will advertise the dates that will be available across the other organisations starting from September and moving into next year. There'll be regular support in terms of either a community of practice or action learning sets where we can do more in-depth detail into the tools that will be available, and there will be different delivery timeframes, so each organisation is trialling it in a different way. We'll continue to do 3 days over a month. Barnsley are going to test doing 3 days in 1 week, and Ardash are going to test doing a day a month over 3 months. And all will come back at a point after that to share where the practitioners are at. Next slide, please. So the test and implement section of that, like I said, we've just tried our first cohort in May 2024 this year, so that was really well received. We had staff from our own organisation, from Barnsley and from Sheffield Health and Social Care. There were 3 very full days, but actually the people on the course really enjoyed it, and we've yet to test the follow-up that will come in September. So September and November we have cohorts on site, and then Sheffield Health and Social Care are also offering a cohort in September, with Barnsley coming on early in 2025. So if people live near other organisations, they will be able to go there for the training instead of coming on site into work. Next slide, please. We're going to evaluate, obviously, as we move through the learning for the course. We've got now a regular group that's set up to look at the content of the material and how it's delivered. But the feedback so far from the May course has been that confidence is high in starting their own QI activity for the practitioners. The sessions were long and enjoyable and interactive. Very positive feedback each day on the tools and activities. And then, like I said, next year there will be access to the same
very good.
different organisations. There will be 6 cohorts across 4 organisations, the mixed delivery to test, and we will continue to evaluate it.
So rooftop restaurant changes. The rooftop restaurant have extended their opening hours until 4 p.m. With lunch available until 3 p.m. There's a new menu available, which includes soup and desserts, and you can view the menu online. And the seating area is open for 24 hours if you need a place to have a break. And then there's vending machines that provides hot meals and desserts 24/7. I think they're relatively new, and I've seen some of the products that come out of them, and I think feedback's been good so far. So next slide. So overseas visitors, I guess this is just for information, really. I don't know whether you know or not. Overseas visitors may be charged to use NHS services under the Overseas Visitors Legal Charging Regulations back in 2015. And we have a team of colleagues who can help you understand the regulations and that can talk to patients. So it's important that we do capture the patients and charge accordingly. So to contact the Overseas Visitors Officer Caroline, extension 7969, or the Overseas Visitors Lead is Angela on 7202. Thank you. Next slide, please. So this Armed Forces Week took place on the 24th to 29th of June, and the week marked the culmination of a series of events allowing the public to express appreciation for the Armed Forces community. The local community, individuals and local organisations were encouraged to participate and show their support in various ways. And we promoted awareness of Op Courage, the Veterans Mental Health and Wellbeing Service, and Op Restore, the Veterans Physical Health and Wellbeing Service, and reminded everyone of the importance of identifying those who ever served in the UK Armed Forces. And that's an area that we're having a big focus on, and we're particularly keen that we do support our veterans. Next slide, please. So, as you know, the Euros is looming. On Sunday, we're in the final, but what I'm about to tell you is much more important than that. The 3rd annual staff football tournament for TRFT was held at the end of June. We had 5 teams entering in total, with colleagues from estates and facilities, finance, medicine and therapy services. And the winners on the days were the Misfits, a team made up of colleagues from across the different care groups. And the runners-up were the Porters team, the Wheelchair Wizards. And there was a prize for the best team name, which is quite relevant and appropriate. And that was given to Sack of Potatoes, a team of physios named after the England player who's really been playing really well, hasn't he? So the tournament raised money, £190 for Rotherham Hospital and community charity, which is really positive. So well done to those involved in that. So we recently had our proud award ceremony on the 20th of June. The winners are there on the list. It was a really good night again. So I'll just read the first names of everybody. So the Chairman's Award was Clinical Haematology. The Chief Exec's Award went to Laura for Health Informatics. For the public recognition was Dermatology Team and Tara Lees. Non-Clinical Team of the Year were the Orthopaedic Operational Team and Schedulers. The Inspiring Leader was Chris from Audiology. The Diversity and Inclusion Award went to Shri. In Dietetics, Learner of the Year was Billy in Procurement. The Quality Improvement went to Andy in Children's and Young People. The Unsung Hero went to Billy in our Security Team. Clinical Team of the Year was the Virtual Ward and Urgent Community Response. The Governor's Award for Living the Values was Daniela in Ward A1. Volunteer of the Year were the B5 volunteers. Excellence Awards, Team of the Year was Education and Development Team. An Individual of the Year for the Excellence Awards was Lucy Richardson. And finally, the Public Excellence Award went to Maternity. So congratulations to all involved who won and those nominated. And we'll look forward to doing it again in June next year. It's actually the 20th of June next year. Thank you. Moving on, please. So Excellence Award winners from the more recent applications. The individual winner is Fiona. Fiona Hendry supported a complex patient and essentially the nomination said Fiona saw the patient very quickly. The interventions were very much patient focused, with Fiona getting an understanding of what the patient wanted and what the priority was, and made a big difference. So I think there would have been a number of steps where this plan could have been abandoned because of hitting some walls, and I think it showed real passion, tenacity and hard work to get to such a good conclusion. So congratulations to Fiona and thank you. So the Excellence Award Team Award winner went to the Children's Community Nursing Team. It said on the nomination, I would like to nominate the Children's Community Team for all their hard work and support of a child in the community who's palliative. This has required a lot of nursing time and visiting every day to change strange drivers and manage the symptoms, and she has regular seizures. And this is on top of their daily work. So thank you, well done. What a great team. So it's absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much. Next slide. And finally, the public award winner is ITU, HDU. So this comes from one particular family. As a family, we received excellent care. We were all impressed with the care received. It's quite difficult to put into words what this meant to us as a family, to be given the time to be with our dad in his last days and to be given privacy to do this on a busy unit was phenomenal. We were also given use of the overnight stay room, made endless hot drinks, given toiletries, nothing appeared too much trouble. So thank you so much. Obviously, the family appreciate the care that you provided and you're doing a great job. Thank you. So today we don't have a charity update. We'll bring more of a detailed charity update next time, including calling out some of the charities that we are going to be working with on our site, as well as our own charity, which are two other specific charities, which is Macmillan and the British Legion. But we'll pick up that in a little bit more detail next time. So we're going to go through the questions now. So I'll start with the ones that have been pre-prepared, and then Damien will come to any that are in the chat. Firstly, is the question and answer actually anonymous? And the answer is the team brief questions are completely anonymous when submitting and using the form in advance. There is an option on the form to include your name if you wish. If this field is blank, we cannot tell who submitted the question, so yes, completely anonymous. Question around charitable funds. Would consideration please be given for charitable funds to buy a microwave oven for the kitchenette? I don't think we've got the location. I don't think, but it would greatly enhance staff morale and well-being. And what I would ask, if you would maybe speak to your management team, please. Because, from my understanding is different areas do tend to provide the kit for their own kitchenettes. So that'd be in the first instance. If no joy from that, please do come to me and we'll speak outside the meeting if that helps. About 18 months ago, our finance director did make money available for investments across ward areas. For example, new dishwashers. I think that did extend to microwaves. So yeah, please do follow it up within your own area. And I will help if need be. Estates related questions now. There are quite a few actually. First one in relation to Woodside. The Woodside building is in need of a refresh. There's very old carpet and peeling wallpaper in some common areas. The west wing entrance porches are moss covered. Does the trust have plans to improve our workplace? We've got a few responses from Linda, our interim director for estates and facilities. So what we're saying is we have done what we can in getting the building cleaned more regularly, and we'll get someone to attend to the moss. Well, we've no plans for refurbishment at the moment. Our capital plan at this point in time is sort of ring fenced, and we're clear on what we need to do in this next 12 months. The building will be included in our state strategy, which is being developed in a little bit more detail, and will be considered as an area for potential capital spend next year. Then there's a question around outstanding estates jobs. So how many outstanding unique jobs, including duplicates, are there currently logged within the estates help desk for maintenance? What's the old list and how many jobs are over 2 months and what can be done? And the response we've got is there are a number of ad hoc job tickets still outstanding, and we're currently reviewing how to allocate resource to bring the list down. So there is a plan, but that will be work in progress. Car parking. Could we have the white lines indicating parking spaces repainted in the main car park? The current lines are very faint, making it difficult to see where you are supposed to park. And the response we have is we're about to completely reline the main car park in the next 2 months. So hopefully we'll see that done by then. Our next one's around Woodside again. When is the lift in Woodside going to be fixed? Disabled staff or disabled visitors are still unable to access the top 2 floors and bottom floor of Woodside. We keep on being told soon. I am sure if this was a hospital, this would have been sorted months ago. So the response, this is a very old, the lift is, and we have had difficulty in sourcing a part for it. This is now finally on order and being manufactured to specification. We'll be here in approximately 6 weeks for fitting. So we hope to have that one resolved in 6 weeks' time. So apologies that that's not been working. Again, if that's causing additional difficulty, please do approach us outside the meeting and we'll see what we can do to provide alternative arrangements in the meantime. There's one around the pedestrian crossing. Does the trust have an indication as to when the new crossing on Moorgate Road will be completed? Yes, the response is the timeline we have been given is for completion by the 31st of August. Then there's a question around the NMC. How are the trust responding to the NMC report published on Tuesday? Cindy, I don't know whether you wanted to respond to that one. I'm happy to do so if not, but are you still here? Great.
Yeah, it's fine.
Thanks.
So obviously we're very concerned about what we've read in that report. Helen Dobson, who's our chief nurse, is at a regional chief nurse event, and this is on the agenda there. So they will be talking about it and we will communicate any outcome to colleagues if we need to. I think Helen has just asked us to remind you that you can raise concerns with herself or either of her deputies and also through Freedom to Speak Up. So if you are worried, you do want to speak up, there are those different people that you can talk to that would expect to have an update on this, I think, as things evolve.
So I think that's the end of the questions that we've had in advance, but I think there's just one in the chat and it's about the football. So will there be anything in place on Sunday for patients to watch the football if they wish to? I don't know the answer to that, but I'll follow that up straight away because I think it's a good point. It's a big event for the country and many of us will wish to watch it, I'm sure. So I will check that straight away. And then there's another one. Will completion of ILSY Practitioner Foundation be recorded on ESR? I don't know the answer to that one either, I'm afraid. I don't know if everybody on the call does, but we'll certainly pick that one up. Becky, do you want to come back in on that one?
Yeah, it's our improvement training. Yes, it will be recorded on ESR. All bookings done for both practitioner and foundations on ESR, so it is recorded on there as having been achieved.
Thank you very much. So we've just got the football to bottom, and I'll get onto that straight away. Are there any more questions? Would anybody like to come in? I can't see any. Damien, can you see any others coming in? Rachel, did you want to come in? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, just a quick one, probably for James, about the upgrade and the change of the not using the XRothGen and going to nhs.net. And it's about Teams, I suppose, because obviously we use Teams quite a lot. We've got a lot of channels, a lot of documents stored on there for multiple use. Is that going to transfer automatically, or is that something that we're going to have to do manually? I think you're on mute, James.
Yeah, good question. Thank you. I've been asked by a few. So we're planning to do automatic migration where we can. So we're doing a bit of process at the moment, looking at which departments, teams use Microsoft Teams the most, what they're using it for, and what we can sort of migrate. It will probably be difficult to migrate any chat history, but your files and everything else will migrate over. So we know where these areas are and what they're using Teams for. So we have a plan to contact them sort of directly where we need to. Rachel, hope that helps.
Great. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, James and Rachel. Thank you for your question. So I think that definitely concludes the questions. I can't see any others. We'll quickly find out a little bit more about the football. But thanks for joining us today. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the football if you're going to watch it. Damien, do you want to come in?
Yeah, another question has come in, Michael.
Okay.
It says, considering financial pressures, our non-elective activity is on block. However, we are experiencing significant activity in that area. Is there any discussions on trying to get additional funding?
I don't know whether we've got Steve with us. Yes, Steve. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great question, and one that we've been discussing for the last 12 months with the Integrated Care Board for South Yorkshire. So the person who wrote the question is correct that non-elective activity at the moment is under a block arrangement, but we have been pushing that message quite firmly with the commissioners or the Integrated Care Board. At the moment, there is no further resources available, but we will continue to have that dialogue with them. And continue to make that point, because as the person's quite rightly pointed out, we do have additional beds open at the moment, and non-elective activity is higher than we've had in previous years. But at the moment, unfortunately, financially, there's no ability to draw additional resources down given the current national arrangements.
Okay, thanks everybody. We'll leave it there for today. We'll see you next time. Thank you.